everyone, and welcome. I'm Jennifer, and you are listening to the Ego Next Door podcast. Today will be an introduction to narcissism and several of the most typical and relatable characteristics of these individuals. Let me paint you a picture. You are born into a family surrounded by people who give you all the attention in the world, look at you full of wonder, and treat you as their little princess. You are your mother's most prized possession, and she will gladly take you to work or for a stroll around the park. People look at her on the way to look at her new accessory and let her know how beautiful it is. But you're just a baby. You want to sleep, eat, repeat. You cry often. That upsets her. You grow up. That upsets her even more. You start looking more and more like the person she married and divorced. You go from being the trophy baby to the emotional regulator and perpetual bad decision validator. Until you become a person of your own. And suddenly you have your own dreams. Not all of them include her. In fact, most don't. But you feel a sense of discomfort anytime you think about yourself. Anytime you consider your uttermost desires, an invisible leash holds you back. That leash is a chain. That chain is your conditioning. You are not allowed to be yourself and live a life of your own. You must include them. You must pay them back for the gift of keeping you alive. Your duty is to live to pay back on a credit you did not apply for. You stayed alive for so long, yet now, somehow you look at yourself in the mirror, and you aren't sure how that happened. How did you survive? How did you make it? How are you still breathing? You give them all the credit. You do not dare to tell yourself the truth of the matter. But I will tell you the truth. Most likely, you raised yourself. And you did it out of sheer nature, not nurture. Nurture did nothing to you, besides providing you with an unregulated emotional self and many, many self-doubts. It wasn't her or him or them that brought you up. It wasn't them that guided you to find your own healing, your own support group, and finally to acquire the validation you needed. That was all you. Think, appreciate, love, and cherish that person. You made it. You will make it. The voice in your head that tells you you won't is not your voice. It is the voice that brought you down and installed doubt. It is their voice. Your voice is tender and nurturing. Your voice is maternal and paternal. Your voice speaks for the mother or father or both that you did not have. And it is that voice that will get you further into healing and peace of mind. We hear the word narcissism a lot nowadays. This is not a surprise considering the self-absorbed environments we are constantly surrounded by, including the content we are bombarded in places like social media. But how did the word narcissism come about? What exactly is narcissism? Is narcissism the same as being confident, believing too much in oneself, putting one's needs above anyone else's? Or is there something more to it? So let's cut right to the chase, or maybe not. First, I've got some interesting facts to get to. In Greek mythology, Narcissus fell in love with his own reflection in still water, and unable to tear himself from it, he died tormented by that state of helplessness. When he died, the flower sprouted. This flower, commonly referred to as Narcissus, is the daffodil. According to myth, the flower top's inclination towards the ground is meant to resemble Narcissus bowing his head to look at his reflection. This story of Narcissus was used in 1898 by Havelock Ellis to illustrate a psychological state, namely when reporting a case on male autoeroticism. Roughly 10 years later, Sigmund Freud used the word narcissism in the footnotes of one of his works. And in 1911, Otto Rank wrote the first psychoanalysis paper on the subject of narcissism. It's been 100 years since, and narcissism still remains a trending topic, to the point it is interchangeably used as a noun, an adjective, a symptom, a personality disorder, and a way to condemn those who do not put us first. The latter being a frequent accusation used by narcissists to accuse others of narcissism. This is known as projection, one of narcissists' favorite manipulation tactic to deflect from empathetic self-reflection. Narcissists have something called superficially adaptive behavior. This is what makes it so difficult to see them for who they really are, especially in the beginning. However, more often than not, there is a gut feeling that something about them is off. We simply have a difficulty pinpointing what that thing is. Scientifically speaking, authors describe narcissism as a dynamic form of personality characterized by a pervasive sense of grandiosity, self-importance, and by a need to obtain continuous validation, from others. Through self-experience, we can verify that this is a rather gentle way to classify what true narcissists are at their core: pure evil. In fact, according to the DSM's diagnosis, narcissistic personality disorder is defined by a grandiose sense of self, limited capacity for empathy, and the need for excessive admiration. As a result of this condition, these individuals have the capacity to inflict pain and manipulate others, and this is what they regularly do. Narcissistic individuals can mostly be characterized by their inability to love, lack of empathy, chronic feelings of boredom and emptiness, uncertainty about identity, sense of entitlement, exploitation of others, intense envy, readiness to shift values quickly in order to gain favor, and more. Trust me, there is so much more. Adult narcissists can almost be compared to that kid at the supermarket queue that throws the greatest, loudest tantrum, unbothered and secretly pleased about the attention it is bringing upon itself. The difference is that a kid is just a kid, and numerous research has verified that it is expected and even healthy for children ages 2 to 7 to be egocentric. The same cannot be said for a grown adult. An adult is long overdue its pre-operational stages of cognitive development, and for that reason we could almost describe a narcissist as an underdeveloped adult. Yet this is not a valid excuse to justify the behavior of these individuals, especially because their level of underdevelopment appears to be very convenient to their own needs and ulterior motives. Narcissists do not throw tantrums because they are overwhelmed by strong emotions or because they are innocently mimicking their parents' behavior. Using those excuses would be a free pass to all evil, and it is what perpetuates people exaggerating empathy towards narcissists. Individuals that should not have mercy, especially after being given a chance to make a change. This brings me to the main reasons why narcissists rarely grow emotionally. Number 1, they avoid self-reflection. Narcissists refuse to check in with themselves and confront how their behaviors might truly affect others. This is why, number 2, they distort reality and externalize what they wish to disown in themselves. This provides them with enough fuel to feed onto their own narrative, which goes something like, I am a perfect human specimen, and if the world does not align with my view of it, then something must be terribly wrong with the world. Number 3, here is where the victim narrative enters the chat. They are never the ones who have wronged anyone. Even when they are called out, they are incapable of providing those they have hurt with a sincere apology. And you know fair well the difference between a sincere apology and a fake one. Also, since narcissists shield themselves from consequences of their actions, they live in a constant state of despair until they find their scapegoat or their enabler. Number 4, this is where you come in. If you have not seen it already, you will soon be aware of the traps and acknowledge the pain that they have caused you. Nevertheless, this type of toxic dynamic is often addictive to let go of. The trauma bond between the scapegoat and the narcissist is very strong, but have no doubts. Although it is scientifically called a bond, it is not a healthy one. In fact, deep down, you know it feels sickening. Perhaps your body has even sent you some signals that something is wrong. It is very likely that after each interaction with someone like this, you feel physically exhausted and emotionally drained. Yet you brush it off. Although you know the difference between a genuine human connection and one that at the core of your being simply feels out of tune. This gets even trickier if you were raised by narcissists and seldom had contact with what I like to call real humans. For this reason, you are most likely out of touch with your own intuition and therefore have self-trust issues. But being connected to a narcissist is not a perpetual sentence. Trust me, 2 months ago, I truly believed that it was. Now, I am slowly getting back on my feet and learning. On the next episode, I will tell you more about me, my story, and how I got to where I am. We will also look into specific manipulation tactics often used by narcissists. Thank you for listening to the first episode of the Ego Next Door podcast. See you soon, and I hope you have a wonderful day. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to hear more, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you would like to access all our updates and free resources, make sure to follow us on our socials at Ego Next Door on Instagram and Twitter. The Ego Next Door podcast is presented solely for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes. The content here is not intended to serve as a substitute for the consultation, diagnosis, or medical treatment of a qualified healthcare provider. Reliance on any information provided here is at your own risk. If you or someone you know is in crisis or experiencing suicidal thoughts, please reach out immediately to someone who can help right away. Call your national emergency services or go to the nearest hospital.